Yeah, I should get my paper in front of me.
Okay, we're in the process of going live here. By the way, just we will be live on screen for a second.
Okay.
And then I'm going to share my screen. So.
All right. Oh.
Okay, I better share my screen because it's now live, and then we will be on as soon as I take the screen off.
Oh, we wanted, yes. Hold on. We wanted to disable chat, right? Yes. What do you think? Should we start?
Yeah, we should start. How's it going?
We should start. How's it going? How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well.
Happy,
It's been a lot of.
What did I say? Happy World Cup qualifier squad release day.
Yeah, to you as well. It was a great squad. I'm excited about that.
Indeed. I'm not even gonna have a sip. I'm just gonna, I'll just hold it up gingerly.
There you go.
So yeah, I don't know. Should we give everyone a few minutes to join us? We've been warning them, but you know.
I mean, we are on time.
We are. It's
we
true.
Are right
we are
time.
Fashionably on time.
Is that fashionable?
I have no idea anymore. What do the kids say these days? I don't know.
I don't know what the kids say.
It doesn't come up on TikTok, and so I couldn't tell you if it's not
they
on
don't
TikTok.
Say
I don't know.
They don't say cromulent, apparently.
Well, I don't care about that because that is a perfectly cromulent word, and
yeah.
You will love it, all of you. If you don't, I can't help you.
There you go.
All right. Well, we're gonna get started then. Although I would like to start this off by saying do you see my display? And do you see what's next to me? Like, do you think he gets up and goes, how can I outdo everybody across Canada with my display for my studio in the Sinclair? Because that's what it's called, which is awesome. And this is only the tiniest portion of it. And if you know Rob, you know this. And I do. I have other scarves and things, but I just have a dining room. He has an actual lair. It's a proper lair.
It was a labor of love.
It's
It
true.
wasn't intended to put anybody to shame, and I did it before we knew we were doing this.
That
So
is also very true. I am feeling pale by comparison. My little
all right, it's okay.
my little things. I have more, I promise. Anyway, so let's get started with our first live event. Thank you all for coming. Welcome. And for anyone that joins along the way, well, they'll figure it out. So hello to all of you wonderful Canadian soccer fans, and welcome to the first of what we hope will be many Voyageurs live events. I'm Kristen Knowles, if you don't already know me, at KZ Knowles on the Twitters, and I am in Toronto. Please don't hold that against me. And my cohort here.
And I'm Rob Notenboom. I'm in Regina, Saskatchewan, and you can find me at FR the Black Hole on Twitter.
Right. And I know I've already said this, but I will say this a lot tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to get to do this, to get to talk to people. And, you know, this is our special Voyageurs event. So we've got a lot happening on the show. First off, Rob and I are going to go over basically what's been happening over the last year, 14 months with the Voyageurs, and what will be happening with the Vs in the coming months and in the coming years, we hope. And then we have two previously recorded interviews with members of the men's and women's national teams. And if you follow us on Twitter, you already know that those interviews are with the lovely Janine Becky and the wonderful Samuel Piet. This was recorded before the squad was announced. We didn't get a chance to ask him about that. We're sorry. And then Samuel Piet's actually interview is in both official languages. So for our French viewers, we tried to include that. And thank you to Kevin Laramie for helping us out with that. And then to finish the night off, after the interviews, we're going to be taking your questions. That's right, a live Q&A. Be gentle with us. You can submit your questions at sli.do using the code that is momentarily going to appear on your screen.
There we go.
And there it is. So yeah, sli.do 339726 is the code for you to submit your questions. We will try to get to as many as we possibly can. We apologize in advance for those that we don't. So let's get going. And yes, it's me again. I know I'm going to talk a lot. Sorry, Rob. As I said, I wanted to say again, thank you. And first off, we'd like to say thank you to Canada Soccer for arranging the player interviews with Janine and Sam, and for facilitating us getting in touch with them. We really appreciate the help they made in connecting us with the players and making the calls themselves. Thank you to everybody who completed the survey that we published in the winter. That was, it was so heartening to see so many of you that are so engaged and invested and interested in seeing what the Voyageurs can do in the future, and want to help it grow and really just become this wonderful, even more wonderful group than it already is. And that made, anyways, that was wonderful. We were really happy with that. Thank you with everyone who has volunteered to help over the last several years, many years. Those of you who have come to matches and helped set up, you know, flag displays, tifos, hand out flyers, hand out song sheets, hand out flags, those who've worked the merch table at the pub before games to sell scarves and hats and shirts. And those who have just, you know, spent their time painting tifos, lugging TIFOs with them across the country in their luggage. There's a lot. There's a lot of people who have worked in a number of cities and in a number of capacities through the years. And we really want to thank you. We know it's a labor of love, and well, we love you for it. And then finally, and a mere thank you seems a bit pale, but a truly massive thank you to Jamie McLeod, who has worked tirelessly and who has financially supported the Voyageurs for more than a decade. From getting tickets into the hands of supporters for matches, often staying behind to make sure people who, maybe running late got their tickets, missing parts of matches, from making merch in his apartment for us to sell and for you to wear and enjoy, and just for coordinating group displays, for coordinating travel in a lot of cases, for coordinating everything, really just for keeping this whole thing going. Jamie, we owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you so much.
So part of our job tonight is to update everybody on what's been going on. And it's what we've been doing has been going on for about 14 months. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about what's been going on a little bit more broadly. What's been going on in Canada is a massive amount of growth and development on the Canadian soccer landscape. And over the last 1 to 2 decades. Besides the 3 MLS teams, we now have Canadian Premier League, League One Ontario, PLSQ. Maybe we'll have a BC League One in the not too distant future. Here's hoping. Oops, I got to cross my fingers in the screen.
It doesn't count otherwise.
We have teams competing in PDL and UWS, and we have more Canadian men and women internationals playing important roles at top clubs than ever before. Oh, and then there's the small detail of hosting the 2026 World Cup. That's not that far off. Because of this growth and development, the Voyageurs need to grow and develop as well.
And so how we're going to get there? There's some less exciting details to go over before we go into those steps, but they're necessary and we want you to know about them. So the Voyageurs are now a registered nonprofit. And that is a huge deal. And this is something that came about from an AGM of sorts back in 2015 that was initiated by Jamie, who recognized that the group was going to need to change in order to keep doing what it was doing, but in order to do even more. The original nonprofit agreement has Jamie as the single director, and this is a placeholder agreement until a larger group can be formed. It's taken some time, but we have all of the corporate returns and financials up to date. So those are all filed. We're all sorted, signed, sealed, delivered, T's crossed, I's dotted, etc. And now it's time for us to, start those steps that are going to create the organization itself. Simply put, we need a governance structure to take the group into the future, not just to the World Cup, but beyond that. The World Cup is a good goal for us to look towards, because it's our 5-year plan, but we've got to look past that as well. And this is how we're going to get there.
And before I tell you about step 1, I'm just getting some messages that people may have missed the Slido code. So just to show you the Slido code one more time, if you want to submit questions for the Q&A, which will follow after the 2 interviews that we're going to play, there's the code and there's the link, sli.do, and the code 339726 to fire your questions off to us. So the first step that we're going to embark on is to build a membership. Kristen's going to talk a little bit more about what that entails in a second, but I'm going to go back once again and give you a bit of a big picture and an overview. What does membership entail? Before we talk about that, we need to acknowledge a few things. Canada is geographically huge. The Voyageurs live everywhere from Canada's smallest towns to its biggest cities. Because the competition calendar for our men's and women's and junior teams is very irregular, and it's often concentrated in only a small few venues, we realize that not everyone will get the same benefits from membership. And there isn't much we can really do directly to even that out. Access to supportive sections is one of the most important benefits, and you guys all told us that on the survey. But there are plenty of people who may never get to see a game live. However, we're committed to creating a membership situation that people still feel is worthwhile despite these disparities.
So there will be a membership drive sometime in the coming months. And it was very clear from the survey results that the vast majority of the people who responded, which was almost 1,000 of you, again, thank you so much, were not only willing to become official members of the Voyageurs supporters group, but that they were willing to pay an annual membership fee for as yet to be determined list of benefits. We haven't finalized the details yet. You know, we're all volunteers ourselves. Everyone's got their lives. And of course, you know, the world is crazy right now, and we understand that the world is crazy for you. So we're doing our best and trying to get everything rolled out to you as quickly, but as, you know, coherently as possible. We want to just roll it out and be like, done. So membership benefits will include, but not be restricted to, the following: priority access to supporter section tickets. And this was a big one. This is probably the biggest one. And we get it. We love having you guys there in the stands with us, singing and jumping and chanting and laughing and crying. We cry a lot. But it is a great thing. It's one of the best things you can do if you have the opportunity. Notification of Canadian national team games and events that are associated with them. So whether it's a live event like this, whether we do a Zoom watch party, whether we let you know about watch parties at the pubs in your city, pre and post game meetups. If you've ever been to one, you know how great that is to get to see your friends and to get to see people you haven't seen in 2, 3, 5 years. Oh my God, you made it. So those are all really great, and you get to connect with your fellow soccer nerds. There's also within the membership the ability to vote in the Voyageurs elections and run for election or volunteer for Voyageurs positions on the board. And then a yearly collectible. And we've looked at a few different options, and we think you're really going to like what we have come up with. And then on top of that, one last thing is more regular communication from us, not just from Twitter or from Facebook or Instagram or wherever you go for your Voyageurs news, but from a newsletter via email. And when we did the survey, one of the questions we asked is, would you like to hear from us via email? And a ton of you said yes, and sent in your email addresses, and we have those securely tucked away. But if you did not and you weren't sure about it, or you're like, you know what, yeah, I would like to get regular communication from the supporters group. At the end, there'll be a slide that has an email address for you to get in touch with us. And then we will go about being in touch with you from there.
Yes. And so after we build the membership, we need to move on to the next phase of this. And that will be to build the organization itself. Our plan is not done on all the specifics. It's general, and you'll get the general thrust here. But we have a lot of work to do in between now and then. So our plan is to have 5 elected positions with the typical titles that you would see in a nonprofit organization: president, treasurer, secretary, member at large, those kinds of things. There will be an appointed executive director, which is currently Jamie, and it will continue to be Jamie afterwards. We want to maintain that continuity. And then there will be a number of volunteer positions and or committees to help work on particular tasks. We have these all listed on this slide for you. Those committees may or may not be the final committees. They're ones that we thought probably need jobs, need people to do jobs, but there might be very many more, and some of them might be a single person or handled by a team. Those things are yet to be decided. Our plan is to hold elections, but to stagger elections and terms for the board of directors to ensure continuity, and to build in a requirement for French-speaking representation on the board. So don't likely expect to see all 5 positions elected immediately, maybe 2 or 3, and others having people sit in those positions temporarily until a year passes or a certain amount of the term passes, and then those other elections to be held.
All right, so yeah, to summarize, first step, membership, and look for that in the coming months, and you'll see information about that on the Voyageurs website, which is, there's a brand new Voyageurs website, thevoyageurs.org. You can see it there on your screen. And it has Voyageurs history, code of conduct, our mission statement, the summary of the survey that so many of you graciously did. And so you will find all of that information there. And then there's the email address if you want us to be in touch with you via email to get that newsletter. And in the newsletter, we're hoping to tell you about upcoming events, have an updated calendar, do player features, perhaps coach and ref features. That's just something to keep you more connected with us and have everybody in the loop ongoing. All right, part 2. Interview time. So Rob and I were really fortunate to get a chance to talk to both Janine Becky and Samuel Piet. And we're going to do Janine's interview first. And we were lucky enough to interview her on International Women's Day, which we thought was very appropriate. And yeah, we hope you enjoy. Thank you for joining us. And since it's morning here, see, perfect. See, I have my coffee. And I feel like we're on an episode of Brewing with Becky.
Hey, yeah, exactly.
So that was one of the first things, hold on, that I wanted to ask you about. So you've been doing, you've had your YouTube channel active for a couple of years now. You've got some great national team videos and a few other things, but then you started this really specific Brewing with Becky series, which has been great. I've really enjoyed watching the videos and the really fantastic conversations you've been having with teammates, with other players, with coaches. And I was just curious, what brought it about? Like, what made you decide that, hey, I want to, interview my friends?
Yeah, I think the whole idea kind of stemmed from the vlogging, but obviously vlogging, I have come to find, is very difficult. And so I thought I want to do something else that adds some content to my channel that doesn't necessarily take as much time as the vlogs do. So I was working with a company at the time, still kind of work with them a little bit, and they said, well, why don't you start a podcast? And the whole conversation was kind of like, you're obviously very good at talking, which is not wrong. And so that's kind of how the conversation started. And then I wanted to center it around something that I'm really passionate about, which is coffee. And obviously the premise of Brewing with Becky is kind of chats over coffee. So it's supposed to be a little bit less serious. Obviously I did one with Sam Mewis recently that was quite laid back and relaxed. And that's kind of what the gist of it is. So I've been really happy with how it's gone. Obviously over COVID, I took a bit of a hiatus from the vlogging and the podcasting just because there wasn't much going on. But yeah, started it up again recently and hope to continue to put some more stuff out here soon.
Well, I hope you do. It's been really fascinating. And I know you talked about the Sam Mewis one, but the one you did before that with Jesse.
Yeah.
That was great. Like, it was interesting to see, your friendship, but also to talk about what it's like to perform at the level you both perform at, and the struggles as well as the successes. So it was a really nice insight into both of you, really.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, Jesse and I have been friends for what everyone now knows is about 7 years. And just, being on the national team, spending so much time together, we've been with one another in, the worst and the best times. And both of us have a really keen understanding of high performance and the mindset behind that. And now she's having a very similar experience to me being over here in England. So it's nice to have someone to talk to that knows me so well and knows my situation so well, and vice versa. So I thought I'm going to get her to try and talk about this over a podcast, which, if anyone knows Jessie, it's not the easiest to get her to talk. So that was really great. And I'm really glad that people enjoyed it.
No, that's great. The other thing I wanted to sort of dive into quickly or not quickly is it's International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
We thought it was very appropriate that we got to interview you today, being a day of celebrating women. And maybe something less sort of celebratory is I wanted to ask you, what do you find, or what do you think is or are the biggest challenges that face women in soccer today?
Well, I think to kind of flip your question, there's never, in my opinion, been a better time to be a women's footballer and to be in soccer as a woman, because it's just taking off. But then again, if you flip the question around again, there's still so much that needs to be done. And yeah, what a special day to talk about it. But I think the biggest challenge we face is probably investment and just getting companies, CEOs, whatever that is, owners on board with the idea of women's football really taking off. And especially in Canada, obviously, as players, we're dying for a domestic league, and that's something that I will continue to push for as long as it takes till we get one. And I know a lot of the other players are in that mindset as well. But even over here, being part of Manchester City, I've seen what investment can do for a club. And the club's done a fantastic job investing in the women's side. They launched a campaign a few years back called Same City, Same Passion, which essentially is, we're going to treat the women's team the same as the men's team. We use the same social media account, which has been fabulous. And we've seen more financial investment. Looking at the players that we've brought into the environment, that financial investment has paid off. And the team's won 7 trophies in 7 years. So that's pretty incredible. And then I think when you look at Canada soccer, there's another great representation of investment and how successful that we've been on the international stage, and what Canada soccer keeps putting into the women's team to continue to help us be successful. And now, we're seeing the men's team really start to climb the ranks as well. And that's just, Canada soccer investment as in a whole. But I'm so proud to be part of the women's national team and continue to kind of break down barriers, and to know that the association is behind us in all of that is pretty cool.
Thank you. That's so great.
Hi, Janine. I'm Rob, by the way.
Hi, Rob.
We didn't get a chance to be introduced off the top. I'm a Sasky, by the way.
Hey, we love that.
Yeah, I'm happy to be, especially happy to be talking to you because of your Sasky roots and all that.
Love that.
Yeah. Do you prepare for games when it comes to the national team differently than you prepare for your club games, especially on an emotional level? Like it's a kind of a different animal. I realize that there'll be logistical challenges and maybe tactical differences, but I'm curious about kind of the emotional level that you might put into one or the other.
So funny that you asked that. I was just having that conversation with a teammate of mine like 30 minutes ago. So that's great. I'm prepared. I do think that there's a difference. And I think that, again, to kind of flip the question on its head, it can be a little bit dangerous to be in that mindset sometimes, because say, my situation in my club, we play so many games. So like in the moment, we're playing like a game every like 3 days. And so it becomes, it takes the excitement out of the game a little bit when you're playing them so much. And obviously as a player, that's what you want, is to play in games. So that's nice that, less training, more games. But I think emotionally, it's just really different, because with the national team, we're together less. You're representing your country, which is a feeling unlike anything else that can't be mirrored. And then just being part of Canada soccer, I think, creates something that I don't feel anywhere else. And I think it's quite easy to see how connected we are as a group, and the family atmosphere that is around Canada soccer, and that just makes everything so much more exciting and instills a different kind of passion. But when I talk about preparation, from an emotional standpoint, I think there's a bit more pressure on the national team games, just because there's not very many times we're playing in a game that doesn't have something relying upon it. So obviously, like at She Believes, that was a tournament. So, there's pressure to win every game. In friendlies, your FIFA ranking is affected by those games. So, and then obviously you can look at the club and say, well, those games matter too. But it is really different, as I hope I've explained that well. But I think there's a different level of excitement for all of it. But I would say that there's nothing that compares to preparing for a game with the national team.
Yeah, there's just fewer of them too.
Exactly. Especially now, that was the first time we were together in a year. And I think everyone was like jumping off the walls, ready to get on the field.
Yeah, understandably so. When you guys are prepping and when you're kind of finishing a game, this is kind of along the same lines, and it's something that we asked Sam too, and we had to get this out there. what do you guys listen to? What do you listen to particularly, and what do others listen to? And I actually have a bit of a sideline question. My understanding was that back in, I don't know, this might have been just before your time, but it might have kind of overlaid, was that The Power of Love was what they listened to at the end of every game. And I had always thought that'd make a great Voyageurs chant, but it hasn't come off quite yet. But anyway, what do you listen to?
Unfortunately, that's kind of phased out due to the amount of like incredibly young players that we have. Because right. I'm the only 94 on the team, and I think everyone older or 94 and younger just doesn't have any idea what that song is. So when it comes on, every now and then it'll make its way back in, and half the team is like what is this? And half the team is like all into it. So it was definitely a very constant thing when I first got on the team. But now it's kind of, unfortunately, I need to bring that back. That's good. I'm going to bring that up when we're in camp in April. You gave me an idea. But oh gosh, what do we listen to? Steph Labbe is our locker room DJ. So she is in charge of that, which is a difficult responsibility, I have to say, because I've had it before and it's not easy. But it kind of just depends. I feel like she's pretty good at reading the mood. Lots of like pop kind of music, like some mainstream stuff. Got some rap in there. I'm a country fan, and so is Steph, but we can very rarely get away with leaving that on for more than a few minutes. But that's mostly what I listen to. And yeah, it's a mood thing. She's pretty good at it.
That's good, and I'm afraid I can't side with you on the country music side. Even being a Sasky.
I was gonna say you live in one of the few parts of the country that actually enjoy it.
Yeah, sorry, not having it.
That's it. He's off the call. We're done. Because you were talking about representing Canada, and you've got that friendly coming up in April, which is very exciting. What, in your time with the national team, which is extensive, what is your top moment representing Canada so far? Like, what just comes screaming to mind is... Question. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, the obvious one is winning bronze. That was, I think, when I just think about that tournament in whole, it was pretty incredible what we did. But I think one of my most proud moments would be the game against the US in 2017 at BC Place. And just the performance that we put out and the feeling in that game was something that I haven't experienced since. Hopefully I will. But yeah, just kind of the whole experience around that game and being in Vancouver and the excitement around it. And then obviously, wish we would have won the game, but I think we played them off the pitch that day. And yeah, it was just a really special moment to be a part of the team.
Of that, and the great crowd behind you, and yeah, BC Place games have been
in Canada. We never ever are worried that we're going to have a poor crowd.
No, we come out for you guys.
You guys do. You never don't show up. That was the wrong way to say that. You always show up.
No, we knew what you meant.
You never
sort of playing off of that. What's the craziest playing story you have where you're just like, what just happened here? What was this game or this moment? And you're just like, did you see that? Did everyone else see that?
Oh, absolutely. The quarterfinal against France at the Olympics in 2016. The French team is, when you look at the French roster every single year, I always say they should be the best team in the world because they are so talented and they have so many incredible players. And I just remember in that game, because I obviously had the assist for Sophie's goal. And I remember in that moment, the ball had come like 50 yards from Shalina to me. I popped it up. It actually hit me in the face on the way down. And then I was like, I'm just going to cross this and hope that someone's there. And then Sophie was on the back end of it. And it was just like what you just said, like, what just happened? And then it was like total elation. And then we were like, wait, we have to finish the game. And I think by the end of that game, I was like playing center back because we just didn't want them to score that bad. So that was definitely like my head spun in that game for probably like 45 minutes. But yeah, I mean, the result was great.
It was great. Yeah, that's an iconic moment for all of us, right? So.
referenced earlier about you guys have basically been off for a year. I mean, not basically, you've been off for a year. There have been no games. You got back together, and obviously things have changed in between your previous time and now. There's a new coach involved, Bev Priestman, and it seemed pretty clear in the She Believes Cup that she was doing some tactical experimentation. What do you think, like, could you describe what she was trying to do, what she was trying to accomplish and experiment with, and maybe what you thought came off well and what you thought maybe is going to require a bit more work?
Yeah, I think, first of all, Bev's first camp, she was brilliant, absolutely fantastic, came in, was so prepared. Yeah, I think everyone just really, really enjoyed her first camp. And I think she's very clear that she wants us to be a team that's brave and that takes risks and plays, you know, to the potential that we have, which I think is probably where we've been gone missing in the last couple of years a little bit, and whether, you know, that's a lot of different factors, but it's just not been there for us. And I think, you know, we can't really waste any more time not being there and not, you know, firing on all cylinders. And I think that's kind of what she alluded to us is, you know, like, why not? Why can't it be us? Why can't we, you know, change the color of the medal this summer? And so, yeah, she came in, tactically changed some things. We changed how we pressed, which I thought was really great. Definitely surprised the US. They were definitely not ready for us to press that way, which I thought was incredibly smart on the tech staff side. But I think there wasn't anything that I thought, oh, you know, this is going to take a long time, or, you know, we don't have it figured out. And if you look at the roster that we had, it was a very young group, a lot of players that were with the team for the first time, and everyone really got it really fast. And I think that was because Bev and Richie made it easy to understand what they wanted us to do, and they were very clear that that's how we were going to play, and everyone bought into that. And I think that's never an issue with our team. We always buy in no matter what the idea is. And right. I think hopefully this time around, buying into this structure, this way of wanting to play, will pay off. And I think that it was really, really positive at She Believes. Obviously, as a player, I'm gutted that we lost 2 of those games, didn't win by more, didn't score very many goals. But the process is there, and we're definitely trending upwards.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of contingencies in those games as well, right? Like, you had some players came in, others couldn't come in. Very young squad, as you said. So
and it was really hot. So after living in England and it being about 0 degrees and going there and it being about 27 degrees, I was like, this is not right. But it was lovely. Don't get me wrong, I love the sun.
I mean, being a Sasky and being still in the grips, like, you know, what I mean, of winter, right? Yeah. In the grips of winter, though, I'd take 27 Celsius right now. But no, not to play in. Maybe you're right there. This is a bit of an aside question, and you might have answered it, so you might have to go away from the Sophie Schmidt assist that you just mentioned. But favorite goal for the national team that you've either scored yourself, and you got quite a few to pick from there, or assisted on?
I haven't scored in a while, so I'm gonna have to look into the archives here. I have a tie.
Okay.
In my mind right now. So first would be the goal I scored against Australia at the Olympics in 2016. Fastest goal I've ever scored. So that was cool. That was a great feeling. Good moment. And then the other one would probably, I have 2 more. So I'm going to just say 2 more. The goal scored against the US in San Jose. That was special. And it was a great passage of play, so that helps. And then last, my volley against Costa Rica at BMO in Toronto to cap off the hat trick was pretty fun.
Nice.
That was such a fun game.
I was at that game.
Yep.
Great.
So was I.
Yeah. Here, I was kind of hoping that you'd reference the whatever it was 35-yard goalkeeper chip in Ottawa, because that was a pretty stellar goal.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Last minute winner. I was like, book.
I thought to myself, that's not going in, it's going over. And thankfully it bounced while it was already in the goal. So we're good. A goal's a goal, it counts.
That's right.
Maybe a bit of a random question, since playing soccer is what you do, but we all have things that we love and we don't love about our jobs or about the things we're passionate about. So what's your least favorite thing about soccer?
I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question before, which congratulations, because that doesn't happen very often. I think it's a kind of a two-part thing, but probably the sacrifice that it takes to play at this level, just in terms of being away from family and not being able to do like real life things sometimes. But I also say that knowing that it's 100% worth the sacrifice. And I'm going to have some point in my life when I'm done playing that I'll be able to do all of those things. So I think that's difficult, especially has been this year with COVID and all the restrictions around that, just kind of being stuck and a bit isolated. But for the most part, there is absolutely nothing I can complain about doing this for a living. So it's pretty great. My computer is going to die, so I'm just going to grab my charger really quick. I will be right back. Sorry.
We'll be right here.
No worries.
So sorry about that.
No worries.
Should have known that was going to happen. Okay, continue.
Tech happens. It's all good.
Tech happens. That's right.
So question about the players you have played with and played against. Who is the best player you've played with? You don't have to name a fellow Canadian. That's not a rule. And then conversely, who is the best player you've played against?
Oh gosh. I would have to say the best player that I've played with is Caroline Weir. Here at City Squash. Also one of the most underrated players in the world. But yeah, she just does some things that I just have to pick my jaw up for because she's just so good and her left foot's incredible. Who's the best player I've played against? That's a really hard question. Oh, her maiden name is Nasib, but she's French and she's retired now. I can't remember her married name, but she was incredible. And I remember when she was playing, every time we played France, she was like our pre-match preparation was like, make sure everyone knows where she is. So yeah, off the top of my head, probably her.
It's always good to have a nemesis. No, just kidding.
A nemesis that you end up like taking down. That's the important.
Yeah, that's the best.
She was on the team when we beat them in Rio, so great.
Brilliant. You did kind of reference earlier, but I think it's an important thing to always be thinking about because of the development of women's soccer and also what's happening in Canada. How important is it for players' development to get our own women's league and or a certain number of NWSL teams if there could be some kind of, situation like there is with Major League Soccer?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely necessary, 100% necessary. I don't even think it's a question. And all you have to really say is look at the countries that have a domestic league and where their national teams are at. Obviously, the States is a difficult example just purely because of their population size. But even England, like England's tiny, they've got a very good domestic league and their national team is very good. Brazil, same. Germany, same. Sweden, same. All these countries have domestic leagues and have figured out how to make it work. And I think it's definitely something that's in the future for Canada soccer. And I think that it will really take off. But we've seen some wonderful players come through the Rex program and made their way to the national team. And it's so inspiring to see players with so much talent coming up the Canadian ranks. And hopefully it's not going to be a reality much longer that they have to leave home to go find a elite competitive world-class environment to play their professional soccer in. And obviously the NWSL has been great for so many Canadians. But I mean, I speak from my own experience that I would absolutely love to play in Canada and be able to play for an elite high-performing team so close to home.
All right. One last question before we let you go.
All right.
Looking back at, where you are now in your career and, you've got so much ahead of you, but just looking back at, all these years you've played and been involved in club soccer and country soccer, playing for your country, What would you tell your younger self when they were just starting out in this sport, knowing what you know now?
Again, another really good question. You guys are killing it. Two things. On one side, I would say believe in yourself, believe in the potential, and that at some point you'll reach that potential. But I would also say to understand that there's ebbs and flows. This life and this career, and it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And I'm experiencing a situation now where it's difficult for me to get on the pitch at my club, and that's because I've surrounded myself with some of the best players in the world, and it's great to be in this training environment, but it's also really difficult. And I think that it just gets harder higher you climb to the top. And so to understand that there's hills and there's valleys, and to appreciate both, and to recognize and be present when you're in both of those situations, and just know that at the end of the journey is hopefully something, and it already is something that I look back on and be really proud of. So hopefully we can have another one of those really massive monumental moments this summer, and be standing on top of the podium and hear the Canadian anthem being played with gold around our necks. So yeah, I'm doing everything that I can to make that happen, but I would definitely say just enjoy the journey.
Great words. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me. This was so much fun.
No, this was so great. And good luck on Thursday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we very much appreciate it, Janine.
No
that's great for you to take the time. And you've got a whole country and a bunch of crazy soccer nerds like us all behind you. So
well, we really, really appreciate you guys, and your support means more to us than you know. So crossing our fingers that we can see you guys live and play in front of you soon.
Okay, well, we hope you loved our chat there with Janine Becky. We really did have so much fun getting a chance to talk to her. And yeah, check out her YouTube channel if you haven't already. I highly recommend it. There's some really fascinating stuff on there between her and her teammates, both for club and for country. And some silly things, but also some really thoughtful things about what it's like to be a professional footballer right now. And definitely worth your time. So up next is our interview with Samuel Piette. And as I mentioned earlier, it's in both official languages. The first part of the interview will be en français and conducted by Kevin Laramie at Kev Laramie on the Twitters, who you may know from the Sports Podcasting Network. And he was gracious enough to give us some of his time so that we could have this interview in both languages. And then after Kevin and Samuel are done speaking, Rob and I will have a chance to talk to Samuel about some different things. So we hope you really enjoy this one too.
Parfait. Donc, on va commencer en français, Samuel, en passant. Bonjour, ça va bien?
Salut. T'as une belle vue de chez toi, en tout cas?
Ouais, j'aimerais ça dire que c'est chez moi, là, mais donc, un beau studio. La saison passée, on a eu la chance de voir ton premier but avec l'équipe de Montréal, et c'est un moment qui devait être très, très important pour toi. Mais au courant de ta carrière, au courant de toutes ces merveilleuses années, durant la dernière décennie, autant pour l'équipe nationale que pour des différentes équipes à lesquelles tu as été fait partie. Est-ce qu'il y a un but, ou est-ce qu'il y a un but que tu as contribué ou un but que tu as marqué qui ressort plus que les autres?
Au niveau des buts, c'est difficile parce qu'en étant un milieu défensif, c'est sûr que je suis un peu moins impliqué offensivement, je suis un peu moins impliqué ou j'apparais moins sur la fiche des statistiques à la fin du match. Mais il y a une action qui m'a marqué, c'était mon premier match à Montréal avec l'équipe nationale. C'était sous les ordres Octavio Zambrano. Puis le match était évidemment au stade Saputo. On jouait contre le Curaçao. J'avais environ 400 à 500 personnes de ma famille qui étaient au match. Puis le résultat était de 1-1. Puis je me souviens, c'était peut-être à la 85e minute, j'ai intercepté un ballon juste devant la boîte de réparation de Curaçao. Puis c'est Anthony Jackson-Hamel, mon ancien coéquipier à l'Impact, qui était avec moi en équipe nationale ce moment-là, qui a reçu mon interception au passe et qui a réussi à marquer pour nous donner la victoire de 2-1. Donc, de pouvoir gagner ce match-là à Montréal devant, à la maison, premièrement, devant plein de gens de ma famille, mes amis, ce fut particulier, même si je ne sais pas si j'ai eu une assist sur ce but-là, mais d'avoir participé à ce but-là, de pouvoir remporter ce match-là à la maison, ça a été un gros, gros moment là, pour moi.
Durant ta carrière, est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose qui, vraiment, quand on parle de sport et de la vie quotidienne d'un athlète, d'un joueur de soccer, est-ce qu'il y a un aspect du sport que tu n'aimes pas? Est-ce qu'il y a un aspect du sport qui est vraiment, tu dois te convaincre pour être capable de passer au travers?
C'est une bonne question. Pour certains, en toute honnêteté, pour certains, ça va être les entraînements. C'est sûr qu'il y a des jours que ça te tente un peu moins de t'entraîner. Par exemple, si je prends l'équipe nationale, on a souvent 2 matchs quand on se rencontre. Puis, quand tu joues un match, puis par exemple, tu perds le premier, le lendemain ou les jours après, ça tente peut-être un peu moins d'être en groupe, d'être avec l'équipe parce que le moral est un peu bas. Ça tente moins de t'entraîner parce que tu es un peu, pas déprimé, c'est quand même fort comme mot, mais déçu de la performance. Puis, tu n'as pas nécessairement envie de voir les entraîneurs pour te faire reprocher des trucs. Donc, il y a ça. Moi qui est maintenant papa depuis 6 mois, je pense que la chose maintenant qui me tente un peu moins, c'est de voyager, de partir pour des longues périodes. Je prends par exemple la Gold Cup qui est à chaque 2 ans à l'été où on doit partir 2 semaines pour s'entraîner. Après, c'est minimum 2 semaines d'entraînement, donc 1 mois. C'est sûr que c'est bon, que c'est difficile de laisser la famille derrière. En même temps, c'est 1 fois par 2 ans, donc on est excité, puis c'est un gros tournoi, on veut bien faire. Je l'ai vécu un peu avec l'Impact l'an dernier de devoir partir à l'étranger pour un long moment. Donc, on va voir cette année avec la saison MLS, puis la première Gold Cup en tant que papa, comment ça va se dérouler. Mais je dirais que c'est le moment un peu plus difficile là, de devoir laisser sa famille derrière, surtout quand t'es parent. Là.
Oui, je peux comprendre. Et
Ouais.
quand on regarde aussi durant la dernière décennie avec ta carrière avec l'équipe canadienne, avec l'équipe nationale, est-ce qu'il y a un moment particulier qui ressort du lot? Est-ce qu'il y a un moment qui te rend le plus fier durant lequel tu as participé à un match ou comment qui ressort de ton expérience canadienne?
Je dirais que j'en ai 2. C'est sûr que c'est peut-être cliché, mais mon début avec l'équipe nationale en 2012, c'était contre les États-Unis au BMO Field. Ça fut un gros moment, premièrement, parce que tu fais ton début en tant que joueur senior de l'équipe nationale. Puis je me souviens à l'époque, j'avais 17 ans, j'avais jamais joué un match professionnel, même en club. Donc, pour moi, je pouvais enfin dire, j'ai joué au niveau professionnel avec des hommes au niveau international. Je suis capable de cocher cette case-là puis dire que je suis un joueur professionnel. Puis surtout aussi parce que ma famille était là. J'avais un de mes entraîneurs que j'ai eu en France qui était venu sur place avec mon entraîneur quand j'étais plus jeune, Lynn Beauregard, mon entraîneur de Boisbriand. Donc, beaucoup de monde qui était là pour ce match-là. Je suis rentré en plus pour Julian de Guzman à la 85e minute, qui a été toujours mon modèle, mon idole, en quelque sorte. Donc, ça fut un moment spécial. Puis l'autre moment, c'est en 2019, en octobre 2019, je ne me trompe pas, contre les États-Unis à Toronto. Encore une fois, contre les États-Unis, le fait d'avoir remporté ce match qui était super important à la maison, on a très, très bien joué. Le résultat était là, la foule était là. Vous, les voyageurs, étaient là. Puis les partisans qui étaient venus tout simplement pour se divertir. Je pense que tout le monde a été surpris de la qualité de l'équipe puis de l'ambiance. Donc, non, ça fut une des soirées mémorables, même je dirais la plus mémorable de ma carrière, autant au niveau international qu'en club jusqu'à présent.
Belle victoire du Canada contre les États-Unis, la première fois en au-dessus de 20 ans. C'était
très longtemps, trop longtemps.
Tout un moment, j'y étais présent. Et ça me pose la question, justement, en ayant vu ce match, en ayant vu aussi des matchs que effectué avec avec le Club de Montréal. Est-ce qu'il y a une différence dans la manière de se préparer pour un match international et pour un match de club?
Mais c'est sûr que quand tu arrives en équipe nationale, tu as toujours moins de temps de te préparer. Donc, c'est très condensé. Beaucoup de meetings, beaucoup de réunions avec les entraîneurs, avec un certain groupe de joueurs. Donc, les entraînements aussi sont différents. En club, tu travailles la tactique, oui, mais c'est un peu plus du maintien physique, technique et tactique. Tandis que quand tu arrives en équipe nationale, c'est tactique, tactique, tactique pour justement peaufiner la stratégie pour le prochain match. Puis, comme j'ai dit, des fois, on a 2 jours, 3 jours maximum avant le premier match. Donc, il y a beaucoup de contenu, c'est très condensé, mais je dirais que l'ambiance est un peu aussi différente parce que, étant donné qu'on est des joueurs qui se côtoient une fois par 3 mois, 4 mois à cause des fenêtres, fenêtres FIFA, les fenêtres internationales. À chaque fois qu'on se voit, ça fait longtemps, ou la dernière fois qu'on c'est parce qu'on s'est affronté en club. Donc, on est toujours content de se revoir puis de changer d'air aussi. Pour certains, des fois, ça va très bien en club, des fois, ça va moins bien, de voir de nouveaux visages. Donc, non, il y a ce sentiment de famille qu'on a en équipe nationale que en club, tu as, oui, mais étant donné qu'on se voit tous les jours, des fois, c'est un peu différent. Puis, tu vas peut-être moins dans les discussions, moins personnelles parce que tu te vois à chaque jour, tandis que quand tu vois des joueurs de l'équipe nationale, ben, c'est là que tu catch up, pour utiliser le mot, le terme anglais, puis de se donner des nouvelles par rapport à la famille, au niveau personnel, etc. Donc, non, c'est toujours un bon moment de revenir en équipe nationale, mais c'est toujours très intense, là.
Pour terminer le côté francophone de cet entretien, Samuel, si tu avais un conseil à donner ou s'il y avait quelque chose à dire au jeune Samuel Piette de 14 ans qui s'apprête à prendre l'avion pour l'Europe, quel conseil aurais-tu à te donner à toi-même si tu pouvais remonter dans le temps?
Très bonne question. Bien évidemment, de saisir sa chance. De pouvoir partir en Europe, je pense que c'est une chance. Je pense que maintenant, il y a beaucoup plus d'opportunités justement pour les joueurs canadiens de partir en Europe. Moi, ce n'était pas le cas nécessairement. Donc, il a fallu vraiment que j'utilise cette opportunité-là pour en faire quelque chose de bon. Mais en même temps, si je n'avais pas saisi ma chance, peut-être que je serais passé à côté du train et puis que jamais je serais devenu le joueur et surtout la personne que je suis aujourd'hui. Donc, d'en profiter au maximum. Ça va être difficile, c'est sûr. Quand tu arrives dans un nouveau club, c'est toujours sous forme de compétition, puis tu es là pour prendre la place de d'autres joueurs qui sont déjà là. Donc, de pas trop t'attendre à ce que tu vas faire. Tu vas te faire des amis là-bas, d'y aller à fond, à 100%, parce que, comme je dis, le train peut-être passe qu'une fois. Puis, de ne pas avoir de regrets, moi, c'est ce que j'ai eu. C'est ce qui m'est arrivé. Ça a été très difficile, mais j'ai aucun regret. Je suis content de l'avoir fait, d'être parti en Europe pour finalement revenir ici à Montréal. Mais pour certains, ça va être de partir en Europe puis de rester là-bas peut-être toute leur carrière. Donc, non, de vivre cette expérience-là à fond, que ce soit une semaine d'entraînement, 1 mois ou un contrat d'1 année, vraiment d'y aller à fond puis de voir où tout ça peut nous mener. Parce qu'on sait très bien qu'en Europe, il y a beaucoup plus d'opportunités, je dirais, qu'en Amérique du Nord, étant donné qu'il y a beaucoup plus de clubs, de pays qui jouent au foot de haut niveau avec les grandes lignes qu'on connaît tous.
Merci beaucoup, Samuel, de t'avoir entretenu avec nous en français. Je laisse maintenant la place en anglais à Rob et à Kristen.
Hey, Sam, great to meet you.
Hey, Rob, nice to meet you too.
Wonderful for you to do this for us. And I just have to reference you're talking about your assist on the goal again in the game against Curacao. I'm from Regina, and I actually traveled to that game. So nice. I've been lucky enough to see you play live, but that was a particularly good interception and a particularly fun assist and a last-minute goal that we all like. And in our supporters end, we all kind of went nuts when Anthony Jackson Hamel put that goal in. So that was pretty exciting. Yeah. Also, it was like the Sam Piette game. because your entire family and friends were all over on the one side. It was pretty awesome there, actually.
Yeah, it was, because it was actually my first professional game, in Montreal. So obviously, a lot of people were there for me. I was playing. I left when I was 14, and I think when that game happened, I was like 21 or 22. So a lot of people that never really saw me play, but they knew I was a good player. They're like, "Oh, I gotta go see him play." That's why a lot of people were there. And to go back to the assist, it's funny because like I just went in to tackle the guy, and it just went straight into Jackson's feet. So it was kind of like a nice patch that I didn't mean to do, but I was happy that it ended up like that. And that's obviously to get the win. It was the cherry on the cake for sure.
Absolutely. So we have several questions in English, as Kevin set up, but some of them are a little less serious, and some of them are a little more serious. So
No
I have to tell you, the Voyageurs, some of the Voyageurs, we've been talking, and we have decided that charging only $15 on Cameo is underselling yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I never really thought about that. I never really wanted to as well charge too much. With these things, I never know how much I should charge.
It's lovely to meet you as well. Sorry, I was a few minutes late into your French interview. Staying on the theme of maybe not so heavy questions, we were thinking about like players, and we watch players get warmed up, and most players have some sort of pregame ritual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really curious as to sort of like, what do you do as your pregame, but really also what music, like what's in your headphones to get you going before a match?
Me, I can listen to any type of music. Obviously, I like the French music, either from Quebec or from France. Obviously, I like rap. I'm young, and that's a bit my style of music that I like. So it could be French rap, it can be English rap. I know one artist who's really popular is Drake, obviously from Toronto. And I remember when we actually won against the US back in 2019. That was the only music that was playing in the locker room, just to make sure that it was 100% Canadian over there. I lived in Spain 3 years, so I speak Spanish, so I listen to Spanish music as well. So yeah, my music, if you look at my playlist, it can go from Charles Aznavour, who's really French, to a Spanish song, to Drake. So it's a bit mixed up, but I don't have any particular type of music before a game.
All right. I like that it's eclectic, though. That suits your personality, I think, and your life experience too, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
It's a well-rounded musical taste.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well-rounded player, well-rounded with the music. This all comes together.
Yeah.
Speaking of players, you played, in Spain. You've played at home. You've played international games. Who would you say is the player that you played with? Who's the best player? Who's the best player you've played with? Doesn't have to be Canadian necessarily, but who would you say is the best player that you've been on the field with?
I would go with Hakim Ziyech, who's now playing in Chelsea. I actually played against him in Morocco with the national team. It's not a big name. He was playing with Ajax before, but I remember we played them. I think we lost like 4-1 or something. They were really good, and but this guy really stood out for me because he was really small, really like not big, really thin, but so quick, so good on the ball. He's left-footed, but with his right foot as well, he was really good. And he's the best player I think I've faced. I've played against some good players, especially in MLS. I've faced Zlatan, Bastian Schweinsteiger, guys like that I have big names. But for me, the best that I've seen, maybe because he was on a good day, I would say Ziyech from Morocco and Chelsea. Yeah.
How about players that you played with, like on your own team?
Oh, there's a lot. If I look in Montreal, obviously I have to mention Nacho Piatti, who I think was the most underrated player in MLS. That's for sure. I know Nacho was outstanding, and it was, pretty much every game and every year, that's for sure, that I played with our best player, our MVP. He was unreplaceable, and I think we still see that, the club, he's a big missing piece for sure. And with the national team, I would say there's two. Atiba Hutchinson, who's still, doing very good at Besiktas. I think he's 37, maybe 38. I don't know, but he's still at an amazing level. And I hope he would come back to the national team. Well, I hope he will come with us. Yeah, fingers crossed. Because we would obviously need his help, because I think he still can play at a very good level. And I would say a very good discovery for me in the last couple of years is Scotty Arfield, who's playing at Rangers. Very, I like his football level, but I think I like the person better. So that's why I mentioned his name. He's such a great guy, and I get along with him very well. And I think that's something as well that we can see on the pitch, where I'm more number 6 defensive and he's a bit more attacking. So we have that really good relationship on the pitch together that we have off the pitch. And, he's just a very good footballer all around, technically gifted. He can score goals, very humble, not selfish at all. So yeah, he's the type of player that I like to play with and hang with when I'm not on the pitch.
Well, he's also a solid musician. Have you? Does he pass out CDs of his band, which we miss? We keep hoping, we keep waiting for new music. We put him on our show. We love him.
Yeah, the first time that I heard that it was a musician, it was David Edgar who told me that, because they were teammates at Burnley, and then when he came over with the national team, obviously there was a tradition where a new player comes in, you have to sing. And he actually took out his guitar and sang a song, and he was really into it. Where normally players are just scared and they just wanted to sing their 30 seconds and get out of the place as soon as possible. He actually enjoyed it, and I think he sang 2 or 3 songs, if I'm correct. So no, he's a really good musician. Unfortunately, I haven't heard much from him, but what I heard from him and what I heard as well from other players, he's something else. Yeah.
All right. Well, ask him next time for a CD
or
a playlist for his band.
For sure. I will leak it on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, it's the Begbys. Why do I know this? Anyway, so
Canadian soccer nerds.
I am a Canadian soccer nerd. That's
Both are.
True.
We both are.
Yes. So you spent your entire youth career and the beginning of your career overseas, and then you're playing back in North America now. But Canada, of course, now has a domestic men's league. Mm-hmm. So looking at that and thinking about like your experience, but players coming up, the importance of having the CanPL, not just having it here for development, but for the success of the men's program, and how important it is that the league succeed going forward for years to come.
Yeah, I was very happy with that announcement that the CPL was announced. Obviously, that was something missing. When you try to compete at the international level and you try to qualify for the World Cup, and you would have a country where there's no league in this country, it's kind of a bit weird. Let's be honest. But I think as well for younger players to have that objective, because before, I remember when I was younger and I was playing with an amateur club in Montreal. There wasn't much, at a professional level for me to aim for. I was 13, 14, and obviously Montreal Impact was there, but that was the only team where, okay, I feel like it's a big shot, but that's the goal. And beside that, I was just going overseas or somewhere else to try to succeed. But I feel like now to have these clubs in CPL, it gives more option for people to have that objective of becoming pro. Obviously, maybe MLS is maybe the main target because it's above the CPL. But for a player that doesn't succeed for whatever reasons to make it to the MLS team, he has now the CPL, so it's not a wasted talent. And I think for that, it's super important for the national team, because a lot of players, sometimes they get very good at 19 years old, 18 years old. But some players, they develop their full potential a little bit later. And like I said, this is not wasted talent. And the men's national team is not only under 20 players, under 21. It's it's up until if you're 40 and you can still play, you can still be called in. So no, I think it's massive. Obviously, we would like to have more club. Hopefully, one day we could have a club here in Quebec, because I know, like I said, now that the CF Montreal is the target for players that are here in Montreal and in Quebec. But if we could have a CPL club here, it would be good. And I think as well, for the players that are in the CPL, they're competing in a professional environment to maybe reach that level, which is MLS, which is going overseas. So they're fighting against each other for something bigger, where before it was the academy and then you had to make it right away. So I feel like there's another step, which is a bit easier for everyone. And I mean, we see the level of CPL is really good. We get players from these teams that are getting called up to the national team. Let's take by example Marco Bustos, who came in the last camp, Amir Dedic, that are very good players. And as soon as they come into camp, we don't see that they're CPL level. We see that they're men's national team level and they have the level to compete. So I think it's crucial to have that. And I just think it'll get better and better every year. That's for sure.
That's great. Thank you.
You know, you referenced some of the other players that were in camp with you in January, and that's an interesting segue towards our last question here. You know, you're not an old guy. You're a pretty young guy, but you're also a tried and tested men's national team veteran. It feels very much like you've been around the team or on the team, often one of the nailed on starters for a very long time now. So it's a neat kind of position to be in. Veteran, yet still pretty young. So you have some of these younger guys that come into camp or, you know, into pre-World Cup qualifying or into the Gold Cup or whatnot. Do you find that that's a bit of an interesting mix? Like, do you find that you're close in age to them, so they're more like your buddies, or do you feel like you're veteran enough that you can be the person that they look up to, or is it a combination of the two?
I'm really glad to have this role in the team, because like you said, I'm still young. Obviously, when I see guys like Jaquil that are, I think, 16 or 17 get called into camp, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm 10 years old. I'm 10 years older, 9 years older than these guys. It's a bit crazy. But I can still have a really good relationship. And one day they call me and say, yes, sir, or they call me sir. I said, don't call me sir, just call me Sam. I'm your teammate, I'm your buddy. And in my head, I'm still young. So I want the relationship with these young guys, that I'm not a guy where I'm super serious and you have to respect in a certain way, but that you over respect the guy. And that's not what I want, because that's not how I see a good relationship with these guys. Yes, I'm a veteran in terms of years of experience with the national team, but I think I have the perfect position in the team where, yes, I have that leadership and that experience, but I can still be buddies with these younger guys and help them actually get comfortable with maybe the team and some older guys to be, you know, the bridge between the two. So no, I think I have the perfect position, and I think I'll stay like this for a while, as long as I'm with the national team. I remember when I was younger, some guys like obviously the Guzman, Hutchinson, even David Edgar, who wasn't too old. I think he was my age more or less when I joined. These guys were like the big guys, Kevin McKenna, Mike Lukowski. They were like the legend of the national team, and I was kind of afraid to be with these guys. But a guy like David Edgar actually helped me to get comfortable with these guys, and that's what I want to do with the younger guys as well.
Brilliant stuff.
So great. Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course, my pleasure.
Parfait. Donc, on va commencer en français, Samuel, en passant. Bonjour, ça va bien?
All right.
Oh, hey, you're back.
I am back. I'm coming back. I swear, I haven't disappeared. I just right. I have to return on everything. Return on. Oh dear Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to turn my brain back on. I was
like mesmerized by the.
I know it's been long enough since we conducted the interviews that I was like, oh yeah, he said that.
Exactly. Oh, and we asked that, right? I totally forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, super fun.
It was super fun. We hope everybody really enjoyed the interviews as much as we did conducting them, because they're both just so good to talk to.
Yeah, huge thanks to both Sam and Janine for joining us. Who knows, in the future we might have a little bit more of this kind of thing. I think it was great that we had more time with them than the usual 2-3 minute 5-minute interviews that you see, and they were very giving of their time and really candid, and we got into maybe some stuff that they don't get asked all that often. And of course, Kristen mentioned it off the top, but the CSA worked very hard behind the scenes to identify players, line things up. It certainly wasn't easy juggling theirs and Kristen's and mine and the players' schedules in terms of time zones and all those kinds of things. And it went off without a hitch. It was a really wonderful job by them. So great, huge thanks to Caitlin and Dominic for helping us out with that. And now
it's question time. Dun, dun,
it's question time.
No, you know what? We really appreciate everyone that has submitted questions so far. There's a lot of thoughtful questions. There's a couple of fun ones. I am going to answer one of the fun ones.
You're gonna go out of.
I am. I'm going to answer the question about my sad little wall. I know it's sad. I know. Don't make me feel worse. What could I add to this? Well, I'm not like Rob, who owns like every giant Voyageurs flag known to supporterdom. I think he should send me one. But I have more V's clothing. Like there was only so many things I could hang behind me. That I've got sweatshirts, I've got more hats, I'm wearing another shirt. I think I have more shirts. Like seriously, it's all clothes. Everything else I have is scarf related, from Canadian soccer supporter groups, from clubs. I have tickets from the Women's World Cup, things like that, posters from stuff like that. So those aren't necessarily Voyageurs related. Those are more my CanSoc nerddom, and they're, there's a display in my hallway, and I would take the laptop over there, but I feel like that's just a step too far. Maybe on another show I will give you a tour of my CanSoc ticket and sweatshirt collection.
People will get seasick moving around. Like,
well, exactly. I'll be like, oh no, here we go. Yeah, I have to unplug everything. Yeah, that would get complicated.
There you go. Why don't we handle some of the more organization related questions
definitely.
that we got, because some of these we did cover a little bit in the earlier part, but it's not such a bad idea to circle back and discuss them. There were quite a few questions that all have to do with the process that we've been going through over the last 14 months and how that transpired, and how the people were chosen who work on this, and what the whole deal is. Do you want to handle that one, or do you want me to start, and you finish?
Well, you know what? I'll start. I'll sort of like let you know who's been involved. And there are people that were involved initially that unfortunately couldn't continue to be involved, and had, jobs changed, lives changed. So, we started out with a larger group and we lost some people along the way, and that's fine. Again, this is a crazy year and everyone has crazy things going on, and we thank everyone for the people who participated early and who helped us get a lot of really important things done. So we've got people across the country who are part of this. Obviously myself and Rob. I'm in Toronto, Rob's in Regina. Jamie, who is obviously still involved because he has to be. He's out in Vancouver. We have Nikki. You may know her from Red River Rising. She's in Winnipeg. Aubrey is also here in Toronto with myself. Matt and Al are in Ottawa. And then we have James, who's out in Cherrybrook, just outside of Dartmouth. And obviously you know him from the Privateers. I say obviously, like everybody knows James from the Privateers, of course. And then, and we've had people, again, someone like Kevin Laramie, who stepped in to help us with interviews and things like that. And other people, again, who had to move on. And there's no naming and shaming, because again, they were invaluable to helping us early on, and we really appreciate all the work they did. So we just tried to get representation as much as we could across the country to get make sure that it wasn't just centered in Ontario, or it wasn't just centered in BC, that kind of thing, because Voyageurs is a Canada coast to coast to coast organization, and we want to reflect that.
And to add to that, I think that much wider involvement is how this is eventually going to evolve, and that's part of the point of what we're doing. To start it off, Jamie really kicked it off by starting to kind of mention that he wanted to get this process going, and that was several years ago now. But now, he's kind of shoulder tapped some of us. Others of us brought other people in, and we formed this group. The group needed to be manageably sized. It could not be massive. It couldn't involve anybody. It needed to be agile enough and competent enough. Are we competent? I hope we are.
Sometimes, depends on the week.
Yeah, agile enough and competent enough to be able to get the job done that we need to get done. Now, having said that, when the job is done for our part of it, some of us may want to continue to be involved, and others will step back probably. But there will be ways to get involved. The first one is to become a member, obviously. The second one is to be able to vote in potential elections. The third one is to run in those elections. And the fourth one is to volunteer. So this will open up greatly to involvement from people who want to be more involved. And also it's important to understand that decisions that get made up until that point, obviously this group is making those decisions. And after that point, it will be other people involved in those decision making. So people who want to be involved in the decision-making process and make the decisions will have that opportunity once we get to the election part of things. And that is in the future somewhere, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I think it's important to also mention that all of us have worked a lot of volunteer hours just to get to that point, and we have a lot of volunteer hours that we still need to put in to get to the point where we're ready for membership and elections. So please be patient with us, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the plan is for the membership drive, as we mentioned earlier, to take place sometime in the next few months. And then once we have that, then we'll look forward to the elections, because we need the membership for those elections.
Bingo.
And people have asked us about the membership fee. Where is the money going? And I mentioned earlier that, Jamie has paid for everything for a long time, except for, the occasional passing of the hat or people sliding Jamie some money from time to time, which again is great. And we understand people do what they can, which is why the membership fee, when we decide on it, won't be huge. But some of the things that membership fees are going to go to, not an inclusive list or an exhaustive list, but web hosting. It costs a lot.
It does.
Like a lot to keep that going. Lawyers and accountants while we go through the incorporation process, but also as we go through things in the future, we still have to keep our filings accurate and current and up to date. So that sort of those sort of extra outside people will need to be, they'll need to be paid. Merchandise. We got to pay for the merch. And I know that everybody loves the merchandise. Everyone loves the scarf. Where's my scarf? There's my scarf. One of my scarves. I know I should have hung all of my scarves, Rob, you show off. So, merch, shirts, hats, flags, let me just, Rob and I will just vogue around our merchandise for a minute here. All of that costs money. The collectible that we want to send out to the members, that's going to cost money. Promotional material. So flags, tifos, banners, flyers, lyric sheets, all of the things that we do as part of game day promotions, or even, at a pub night or something that is for an away match, but there's usually some sort of component involved. And again, all of that costs money. And again, shipping the materials for when people don't sneak the Voyageurs banner into their luggage onto the plane. which has happened
Multiple times.
multiple times, often actually more reliable than actually shipping it, but we're trying to avoid that anyway. So the money goes to a lot of things to keep that will keep the group going, but keep us going in a way that, you know, we can again look forward to the future and really start to do some exciting things at games, to honor players, to promote pub nights, to get a better Zoom account so we can do Zoom watch parties, right? Again, it all costs money, and that's where the membership fees are going to come from, are going to go to. That's where they're going to come from. We're going to take it from our Zoom account and then just, you know, go from there.
Hey, this thing pays off.
It does.
And just to add to that, I mean, being a nonprofit corporation and having voting members, which anybody who becomes a member will be, obviously they're going to have access to the financial details of where membership fees are going. So it's not like this is all going to be held, you know, behind some kind of secret curtain or something like that. It will be you know, viewable by the members, and if there needs to be an adjustment in how much fees are, then there's an adjustment. If there needs to be discussion on decisions that have to do with fees, obviously people will be elected and have input on those kinds of things. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're not there yet, but we want to, that's where we want to get to. Do you want me to read the next one off of our list?
Dun, 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 dun.
Or do you want to?
Is that the forum?
Go ahead. Let's go with the forum.
The forum. Yes, the forum is staying on CSN. Yes. Well spotted. We can't do away with the forum. And it's got too much history. It's got too much going on. So right now the forum will live on CSN, and the Voyageurs.org is its own separate entity. I believe you can link to the forum. You might be able to access the forum through the Voyageurs.org. I could be misspeaking, so please don't quote me on that.
That might have been removed.
That might have been removed. So again, like I said, don't quote me on that. But the forum is still accessible. Everyone's logins are still the same. None of that has changed. It's all there on CSN. The Voyageurs.org will be separate. So yes, Rob, you can read the next question.
Oh, okay.
Whatever it is. We're sort of just like, we're jumping around here.
We are, but we've done a bunch of these. So what are your thoughts on the World qualifying roster just announced?
Ooh, good question. Rob, do you want to go first?
I thought it was great. I thought the fact that they managed to get most of our A squad in this time of much uncertainty, COVID issues, all of the, you know, visa requirements and things that would have to be done in foreign countries, especially Europe, where so many players came from, and to get them all there was pretty darn good. So I can't complain. Sure, it'd be nice if Jonathan David could come, but you know, c'est la vie.
Exactly.
Yeah,
literally.
c'est la vie. So yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I'm looking forward to these games. I hope we go in there and we do not hold back, right? There's no, we cannot be second best.
Don't be nice.
No, don't be nice. Let's just go and get the business done here.
Similar to Rob, I was delighted with this squad. I think that yes, it's unfortunate about Jonathan David, but there is nothing to be done. They did everything they could with the French Federation and anything else around that. So you know what? We look ahead to June for Jonathan David. It's not as though the World Cup qualifiers are over. I think, and you know, and Jonathan Osorio being injured, that's unfortunate. Maybe some, you know, well, actually, I think the other Toronto FC players that may have participated in this international window would have been with the Olympic team. So that's a whole different kettle of fish. And is everyone okay? Is everyone ready for Thursday? I'm very concerned about everybody's hearts and blood pressures. Anyway, I think the most important thing to note for this particular squad is Atiba. And I can't underscore this enough, that one, he is the best soccer player that Canada has ever produced. And at this moment, I'm not to say that some of the youngins, I know everyone's Alphonso Davies and that sort of thing. And I love Alphonso, I love Fonzie, but man, Atiba's 38 years old and playing at one of the highest levels in the world, still scoring goals, still captaining a league leading side. and still just tremendous, and doesn't, we all love him because we're all Canadian soccer nerds. But the fact that he continues to show up for Canada cannot be understated. And not just his ability for this squad, but the incredible veteran leadership, and something for the younger players to not just look up to, but to look at as a path for their careers, to know that there is somebody who has played this long and this well and done it for club and for country. And I think, for me, that's huge. Now, there's wonderful young players. I'm delighted to see Dane St. Clair called in for keeper. I adore him. Alistair Johnson had a wonderful season in MLS last year. Yes, everyone's talking about Corbeau. That's, good things can happen here. And then, yeah, obviously Sam Piette and, Lucas Cavallini, and my own, if you know me, I am not often a fan of Kyle Larin. And I have reasons, good reasons, valid reasons. But I have been
ripping it up.
No, I am pausing.
Oh.
Because he is playing incredibly well. It is impossible to discount how well he has been playing for Besiktas this year. And from what I've heard, from what you see, is that this is a young man that has grown up. Maybe, he's matured some. And maybe that's what it takes for him to be able to perform for club and country. And if we're lucky, that's what's going on. And we get the Besiktas Kyle Larin, which would be amazing because he's delightful to watch, right? Like it's not as though I'm just like, oh, those are all lucky goals. No, those are skill. He's having an amazing season. So
he really
anyway,
is.
No, I think for what the conditions are, and for players choosing to travel around the world during a pandemic, shows how much they care and how much they want to get Canada to the next level. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
So there.
Absolutely. So we've gotten a bit of a directive from Matt, our question curator, and he said, "Well,
we're chatty.
We are chatty. It looks like we have 2 more questions that we need to take care of, and then we'll be ending this. Before we end it, we'll throw the links and the email back up, and then we can call it a day. So this one is there any collaboration, or will there be, or should there be, between the Voyageurs and other supporters groups across Canada? I'm not sure if there's going to be formal collaboration.
Yeah, like not.
I think what we have is a situation where there's informal collaboration because there's just so much overlap between people who are Voyageurs and people who are involved in these other supporters groups.
Yeah.
Whether or not we would be an umbrella association or have some kind of arrangement, I don't think so, but I also don't think it's going to be up to us to decide. It'll be for the larger organization.
Yeah, the board and the people who run the supporters groups. But yeah, as Rob said, we've always worked with supporter groups in cities who, again, all the crossover between people who are Voyageurs and who are supporter group members, it's tremendous how many people do both. So really for us, it's been, I guess, sometimes infrastructure in those cities. People know the stadiums, right? So in Vancouver, Voyageurs who are Southsiders know BC Place. In Toronto, you have, people from U Sector or Red Patch or Kings or, that sort of thing. They all know how the stadium works.
See, Zach is going to be upset you didn't say Curva Collective now.
Oh my God, Zach, I'm so sorry. I meant to say Curva Collective. Please still love me, Zach. You're awesome. I love you. Yeah, you don't want to piss off Zach, man. So stuff like that, I think, like I said, an informal collaboration, probably. I think that'll just keep going as it always has. And then this last question is all Rob, so
yeah,
I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy.
And watch me squirm.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, so it's Rob, how psyched are you for a Saskatchewan team, and what's the word on Regina? Of course I'm psyched. I was psyched when the Canadian Premier League was rumored to be going, when it started to put some information out, when the teams got announced. I actually managed to attend 2 of the team launches. that were only 2 or 3 days apart. And I had to drive about 1,600 kilometers between them to get from one to the other. 16, 15, something like that. Went to the first game in Hamilton. That was great. Went to the last game in the 2019 season in Calgary. Obviously a huge fan of the league. Yes, it's very exciting to have some real announcements on what's happening in Saskatchewan. I think it's very important for people to keep in perspective what's going on and what needs to happen. And what needs to happen is the group that's Living Sky Sports and Entertainment needs to get a deal worked out where they can get their stadium set up. There are a lot of things to do before that happens. So excited, yes, but also it's going to be necessary to be patient and smart about what we do over the next little while. As far as Regina goes, if people are talking about putting a team specifically in Regina anytime soon, I am not aware. It's discussion that's happening outside of what I hear. So, but let's hope that 2021 sees the Canadian Premier League playing with fans in stadiums, and we can get past this whole COVID stuff, which has been very tough on everybody, I'm sure. Let's hope that the Saskatchewan team can kick off not that long after that, and that us Saskies will have a local club.
That's the hope.
That's
and then we'll just we have no idea. We'll just mention the ongoing rumor that Bunbury is getting a club in Quebec. Yeah. It's the rumors have they've swirled back up again. So as always, watch if you don't follow him on Twitter, follow him on Twitter. But yeah, watch this space or watch the various spaces for hopeful eventual news of that. So wouldn't that be amazing? A club in Quebec, imagine.
That would be great. I would love that.
I would love that so much. So yeah, this is us. We cannot thank you guys enough for joining us tonight, for all of your lovely comments in the chat, on Twitter, who have sent us questions, who have just participated in this and want to participate this in the future. It's been so much fun. We've had such a good time. And yes, we will do this again to, whatever way that is, however that all comes together. But Rob and I are clearly shy and retiring folk, but we'll we'll find a way to force ourselves out of our shells and come to you once again with V's Chat.
Absolutely.
V's Chat? Should we just call it V's Chat from now on?
Well, maybe we could. Maybe we could
just call it V's Chat.
Yeah, if you've made it through this whole hour and a half, kudos to you. I'm very happy that we were able to do this, and we're excited to get back to work on what we need to do to get the whole organization organized and functioning. And I think that there are some very bright times ahead. So thanks very much.
It's been great.
It's been great. We will see you again soon.
Bye, guys. Oh, wait, remember, you'll be okay. You can get through Thursday. You can do it.
Thursday. We can do it.
Get through Thursday. Calm blue ocean. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I'm sure it will.
It might be fine. I don't know. We love you.